Thank you, Dr. Jennewein, and thanks also to dance movement therapist Barbara Weber for the invitation to be here. And many thanks to Sabine Klaus and the support team for all the work that has been done to make it possible for us to come together in this beautiful place. As I flew in yesterday over the mountains, I remembered many years ago when I was 17, hiking in the Alps with my father. Over 5 days, we walked together between the earth and the sky, and a sense of grounding in space, Erdung und Raum, rooted deeply in me. When I received the invitation to speak at this symposium and Barbara generously offered to spend a day hiking in the mountains before I returned to the States, it was easy to say yes. I'm so glad to be here. Movement is fundamental to life. Our strongest memories are grounded in embodied experience, engaging all of our senses. After decades of research, we know that the brain is deeply informed by the body. Daniel Siegel, an American psychiatrist and neuroscience professor, describes the mind as an embodied and relational process regulating the flow of energy and information. The mind is an embodied and relational process regulating the flow of energy and information. Der Geist ist ein verkörperter und relationaler Prozess, der den Fluss von Energie und Informationen reguliert. This flow is reciprocal. Information from the environment travels through our embodied senses to our minds. The brain sends energy via the body into the world through movement. Most of us in this room work with people who struggle with challenges that manifest in both their minds and their bodies. We know that depression, mania, anxiety, and dissociation all have psychological and physical dimensions. We work with our patients to increase their capacity for fuller engagement in their lives. Our work is physically and emotionally challenging. Given the multiple complex stressors we are also collectively facing in the world. How can movement help? In this talk, we will learn about how movement and creativity can support vitality, equilibrium, and a fuller engagement in life. Part 1 will address movement and development. Part 2 explores movement and emotion. And Part 3 investigates movement and perception. Each section includes an example of how dance movement therapy, a 60-year-old field devoted to the therapeutic use of movement, engages creativity and the body. Because this is a talk about movement, to understand the concepts, we need to sense and feel as well as talk. To begin, the body is always perceived in the present. Let's take a moment now to experiment and feel this for ourselves. Many of us have traveled here from a distance, organizing and coordinating many details, and now we are here. After all the planning and work, there's nothing more to do but be present. And yet sometimes the mind is so used to this active mode of planning, it can be difficult to slow down and fully arrive. Take a moment to bring your awareness to your body, settle into the support of the chair, make any adjustments that your body needs to be even more comfortable. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and feel the connection that your feet have with the floor. Allow your awareness to travel through the bones and the muscles of your feet, your ankles, your legs. Sense how your body is making contact with the chair, feeling your sits bones, pelvis, sacrum, your lower back, the gentle curve in the middle of your back. Soften between your shoulder blades. As you follow your awareness up the spine, sense your head as a part of your body. Feel its weight and shape. Sense the movement of your breath in the stillness. Notice the support of gravity through your sits bones and gently initiate small shifts of weight from one sits bone to the other, from left to right, inviting just a little bit of flow through the spine. Imagine that your movement is flowing in the currents of the ocean. Soften any muscles in your shoulders and neck that don't need to be working, and just allow the small movement with ease. As we come to a pause, relax again into the support of the chair, finding comfort, and allow the connection that you have established with your body in this moment to stay with you throughout the time that we have together. Many of my patients have responded so positively to practicing movement with awareness in their sessions. Some develop their own practices of doing micro movements like we just did in bed. One shared with me, "It helps me with the feeling of anxiety and dread that I have right before falling asleep or upon awakening. I notice I sleep better and I often have better dreams." Several older adults have noticed that right after moving, they have smoother and clearer handwriting. This spring, another told me she was practicing movement every day. She used it to help herself stay grounded, Erdung, as she prepared for moving from the home that she had lived in for 30 years. These changes that my patients are describing are significant and directly connected to positive shifts in the nervous system. Moving with awareness supports body-mind cohesion. Like many interventions in dance movement therapy, moving with awareness invites the mind to fully engage with the body in the present. Dance movement therapy field has been inspired by multiple sources, including Eastern traditional mindfulness practices such as meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, and more recent somatic dance approaches, including Feldenkrais, body-mind centering, contact improvisation, and creative dance and modern dance. Part 1, Movement and Development. Bewegung ist grundlegend für das Leben. Movement is fundamental to life. When we are born, the first brain synapses to myelinate are those that relate to movement. Movement allows us to swallow, to breathe, to take in nourishment. When we are young, we are forming the neurological scaffolding for processing that allows us to understand our worlds. We are born with approximately 100 billion neurons. 100 billion neurons. And in the first year, up to 1 million synapses are formed every minute. The nervous system, including the brain and the spine and the peripheral nervous system, can be thought of as an embodied recording system. This neurological recording system helps us form memories. Memory orients us and helps us to understand what is happening in this moment based on our past experience. Infants learn about the world through the body. Experiences being held emotionally and physically shape the ability to trust and connect, to give and receive in relationship. When it is safe enough, children develop the confidence and capacity to engage fully in life and to move into the world with freedom and agency. Children who feel unsafe, emotionally and/or physically, form more rigid and less flexible neurological foundations. Over time, challenges may manifest as overwhelming and ongoing anxiety, difficulty in regulating emotions, impulsivity, dissociation, cognitive challenges. These can create difficulties in all aspects of life. Early engagement is crucial as a child shapes implicit internal maps for understanding and responding to the environment. Movement and creative play can facilitate growth and resilience. These young children participated in the Early Childhood Development Center in Austin, Texas. The center served children from an economically depressed and under-resourced part of the city whose vulnerable families often experienced multiple stressors. I was invited into the center as a consultant to work with the teachers to develop and integrate movement approaches. The program was designed to facilitate the children's physical, emotional, and cognitive development, and to mitigate challenges that the children may have been experiencing. With the babies, the focus of the program included embodied attunement and relational engagement, supporting gross and fine motor skills, such as grasping, reaching, and crawling. Mirroring the infant's movement initiation with sound and vocal support motivated their relational engagement and self-agency. Young children are very receptive to emotional, embodied learning experiences that facilitate empathy. This 3- and 4-year-old group explored having movement conversations and sharing in gestures. They responded naturally when invited to share feelings through their bodies. And these children are experimenting with scarves and how they inspire movement. According to their imaginations, the scarves became cocoons, ropes, and wings. In this picture, the young girl is sharing about her first experience with a broken bone. Her friends listen with rapt attention, as she is the first among them to have had this experience. Their curiosity motivates her to remember and share the details. I was scared and sad and it hurt, and I chose the color of my cast at the doctor's, and then my grandparents came to see me. As she tells her story, she is forming her own explicit memory and internalizing her understanding of what has occurred. She tells her story with the pride of someone strengthened by a challenging experience. And in this environment of interest and attunement from her peers and the teacher, she develops a sense of herself as confident and competent. As we have just seen, dance movement therapy can stimulate and support early physical, emotional, and cognitive development. Part 2, movement and emotion. To deepen our understanding of implicit awareness, the body, and movement, let's consider emotions. We think about what we care about, and in this way, emotions direct the flow of our thoughts. Emotions help us to sense what is important to us, what we value, who we want to move closer to, and when we need to set boundaries. Emotions are informed by neurological processes operating implicitly beneath the level of consciousness. Our perception of experience is often colored by emotion, yet the impact of the body on one's experience of emotion is not consciously registered in the moment. An affective neuroscientist, Antonio Damasio, developed the concept of somatic markers, in which he proposes that what the mind experiences as emotion is informed by its somatic interpretation of somatic cues from the body. Candace Pert, a neuroscience researcher, poetically describes the complexity of biological factors at play in our experience of emotion. Your brain is extremely well integrated with the rest of your body at a molecular level. Every one of the zones or systems of the network, the neural, the hormonal, the gastrointestinal, and the immune, is set up to communicate with one another. Imagine each of these messenger systems possessing a specific tune, humming a signature tune, rising and falling, waxing and waning, binding and unbinding. And if we could hear this body music with our ears, the sum of these sounds would be the music we call the emotions. Remember the music that we just heard, yeah? Let's take a moment here with the body. Allow your attention to return to your body right now, sensing the support of the chair. Take a full breath and relax again into the support of gravity. Bring your hands, if you're comfortable, to the back of your neck. Explore a little and let your fingers find that place that your neck meets your skull. Feel the rounded bones at the base of your cranium with your fingers. Take a full breath and allow your head to rest in the comfort and support of your hands. Now slowly let your hands slide down either side of your neck to the front of your body, one hand coming to rest on your heart, and place the other hand on your belly below the diaphragm. Allow your body to experience the comfort of this connection to gravity and notice any feelings or moods that you become aware of. Welcome whatever you find with curiosity. If your feelings had a temperature, would they be warm or cool? Do you sense movement or more stillness? Stronger or lighter? Allow any words or images to come to mind and take a moment to acknowledge your experience consciously. Each feeling state lives differently in the body. Grief and sadness stir deeply in our bodies when we experience a significant loss. The heat of anger is triggered when our boundaries are threatened or violated, and we can feel the energy of our response at the body level. Fear and anxiety draw us inward. We move differently when we feel safe and supported than when we feel unwelcomed and excluded. Engagement and exploration of the world around us is motivated by curiosity, interest, and joy. Knowing what we are feeling is essential to understanding ourselves and to communicating effectively with others in our lives. When early experiences are supportive, we learn to make sense of our internal emotions and can share them with others in a meaningful way. When the environment is emotionally unsafe, we may form unconscious expectations of disappointment and danger and develop paradoxical defensive strategies which can recreate painful dynamics unconsciously over and over again. These patterns can manifest as extremes of rigidity or chaos. Each restricts the experience of vitality and our ability to engage with the world. Imagine a group of adolescents in a psychiatric facility due to a recent experience of self-harm or aggression. The dance movement therapist enters the room knowing what the initial resistance will be and is greeted as anticipated with a combination of hostility, crossed arms, and exaggerated disinterest. The therapist leans in and begins by inviting them to share how they are feeling in terms of the weather. What is happening with you today? Is it hot or cold? Windy or calm? Rainy or sunny? After a few awkward moments of silence, Dan, an older member of the group, begins, saying, "My weather is foggy today and it's hard to see anything." The group shifts to a more attentive state and others begin to share. "My weather is windy but not too cold," says Elena. Over time, the metaphoric descriptions become more detailed. "I'm a full-on storm with lightning and thunder," says Pat. After the group has shared, the therapist responds, "I'm struck by what you're saying and how each weather you're describing moves differently. I'm curious if you can find a movement that goes with your weather so that we can really get a sense of what you're communicating. What is it like to walk in the fog? Dan hesitantly begins to move, and the group mirrors him, following the group process they've established over time. Next, Elena jumps in, and the wind can blow the fog away. A sense of vitality and playfulness is introduced as Pat moves his storm, stomping loudly with the group joining him. After the movement, their faces are more animated. Pat shares about his storm. I'm angry about my parents' divorce. I can relate to that, says Elena. I remember feeling completely forgotten. There's a pause in the group, and when they continue, there are moments of engagement with real empathy and relief in the connection. Part 3, movement and perception. The kind of attention we pay literally alters the world. We are partners in its creation. Things change according to the stance we adopt towards them, the type of attention we pay to them, the disposition we hold in relationship to them. Die Art der Aufmerksamkeit, die wir schenken, verändert die Welt. Wir sind Partner bei ihrer Erschaffung. Die Dinge ändern sich je nach der Haltung, die wir ihnen gegenüber einnehmen, der Art der Aufmerksamkeit, die wir ihnen schenken, die Einstellung, die wir ihnen gegenüber haben. Movement as a therapeutic approach is potent, and there is a reason why it has taken us so long to be able to talk about it. We have been working from a perceptual illusion, a fallacy that the body is separate from the mind. This illusion is possible because of the brain's complexity. Through evolution, the human brain specialized and separated neurological channels for abstract thinking and implicit processing. Brain lateralization facilitates our mental capacity to conceptualize, set goals, and plan into the future. However, it also creates a susceptibility to emotional and cognitive distortion. Mabel Todd, a somatic educator, wrote in 1937, "Man alone can be afraid all of the time of what has happened, of what is happening, of what may happen. He interferes with the wise workings of his body and prolongs his conflicts long after the danger is past." 1937. Prolongs his conflicts long after the danger is past. Today, the body's role at the core of human experience and mental functioning is finally coming to light. Today. In this time, it's a very exciting time to be a movement practitioner because the brain has taken us so directly to the body. I was waiting for this for about 20 years. We are beginning to understand how movement engages implicit processes that impact perception and support emotional well-being. Movement can free up new access to one's vitality, creativity, and flexibility. Mary Whitehouse, a dance movement therapist, developed a movement approach called authentic movement in the 1960s. Authentic movement begins with bringing one's awareness inside the body in the present moment, as we have been doing today. Participants listen internally and move from this deep internal sensing. This allows the mover to be receptive to unconscious, emergent, symbolic content in movement and to find a deep subjective connection to themselves. Mary Whitehouse. Authentic movement can support clinicians and caregivers who hold and care for many others in their psyches. The practice offers a way to replenish the emotional and physical depletion that are so prevalent in the helping professions. Lori, a dear colleague, discovered that she had breast cancer late in her pregnancy. It was with her first child, which she had very much wanted and desired. The cancer treatment and fear for her own survival infused and complicated her first year of mothering. Soon after she recovered, Lori joined an authentic movement group that I lead. One day she shared, "I am struggling with how to re-engage with my work. I'm afraid I will disconnect from my own needs and get lost in the process. I'm trying to move forward, and at the same time I find myself holding back. I'm afraid I might get sick again." During her authentic movement experience, Lori explored this challenging theme. Her movement began tentatively, unusual for her, with a somber seriousness. She stayed close to the floor, her body supported and held by gravity. After a long while, the movement shifted, beginning with her feet. She stood slowly and gradually began to dance with more lightness and ease. Her pace quickened, including all of her body, and she had an expression of serene delight. After the movement, she shared, "I remembered a time when I was about 8, and I was dancing in my white go-go boots. My body remembered the feeling of dancing with joy, surrounded by people who loved me, confident and easy." The movement process helped Lori imagine joy without effort for the first time in many years. Over the next few months, she reported using her boots as an internal somatic guide to navigate her work decisions with more ease. She felt more capable of setting boundaries with less internal conflict. As she encountered choices and opportunities, she said, "I asked myself, could I do it with my joy boots on?" A childhood memory of embodied joy is significant. When rediscovered in authentic movement, it touches a sense of something deep within, a feeling which has moved inside us from the very beginning. This embodied orientation is a fundamental subjective sense of self, the feeling of who I am. As our time begins to come to a close, let's take another deep breath together. Just full breath, sensing the sky and the air, sensing your heart, your breath, the warmth, vitality, and life within you. As you reflect on the time over the past few minutes, while I was speaking, invite a word or an image that comes to mind, something that you would like to remember. Today, we've explored some examples of how creativity and the therapeutic use of dance and movement can engage neurological processes that support fundamental psychic change. To review and summarize, dance movement therapy positively impacts physiology, emotional resilience, and cognitive functioning through chosen engagement and active awareness in movement. Interventions support neurological integration across multiple channels by engaging both implicit sensory motor and emotional and conscious neocortical processes. Dance movement therapy offers versatile application with a wide range of populations across the developmental spectrum. Effective clinical interventions address mood disorders, schizophrenia, addiction, autism, cancer, brain injury, trauma, and developmental challenges. Inspiring work is being done in social systems challenged by conflict, with refugees, child soldiers, and in healing complex trauma. Dance movement therapy approaches can facilitate collective healing through increasing cultural awareness and building experiences of connection and communication across differences. Continued research into these applications of dance movement therapy is relevant and necessary in these complex and challenging times. Trudy Shoup, a Swiss-born dance movement therapist and one of the founders of the field of dance movement therapy, said, "I think it's basically about being able to say yes to life. And I believe that all people have a right to be here, and that being here has an important reason. I also believe that to dance is wonderful. With movement, you can change the chemistry of your body. I'm absolutely sure if you dance, you include the whole human being, not just the intellect." Thank you for your kind and thoughtful attention today.